For the first time since moving to Sweden, I am afraid for my life. Let's talk about it. Those of you that haven't seen my videos before, I'm an American, I come from Texas, and I moved to Sweden 2.5 years ago. I come from the Dallas-Fort Worth area of Texas, and one thing I absolutely have loved in Sweden is how safe I have felt since coming to this country. It's really funny because a lot of people say to me, "Oh, Brandon, why are you, in that area of Sweden? It's a really bad, violent area. There's a lot of gun crime." I've seen a lot of stuff in the news as well. And up to this point, I have been okay. And also, you have to understand, I come from Texas. It's gun country there. The only place that had more guns that I at least from my uh, what I had seen was Alaska. I haven't looked at any data, but I know there was a lot more talk of guns there in Alaska than in Texas when I lived there. But in Sweden, it has been relatively calm for me. There is an area of the town that I live in. I live in Malmö, Sweden, which has been reported as kind of a gun capital area of Sweden. And there is a particular neighborhood that is basically the no-go zone, is what I'm told. I've driven through there. It doesn't look so bad, and I hear that there is a lot of violence there, but most of the violence takes place between people who know each other. So that neighborhood is mostly filled with immigrants, I myself being an immigrant, of course, but they took in a whole lot of refugees, and a lot of them have lived in that area, and there is a lot of violence in that neighborhood among them, usually with each other. However, that being said, when I first came to Sweden, people said, "Brandon, you need to be really careful," and they mentioned a specific group of people to be careful of. If you see them like carrying a bag and they come from a certain area of the world, and just try not to make eye contact with them, don't get involved with them. And I was like, that is like so racist, I just didn't get it. I have friends from that part of the world, and I still do, and I just didn't get it. But I'm kind of starting to see that there is a problem. I have seen enough happening just in the last 2 weeks of altercations among this group of people, which ultimately led up to 2 days ago, me, myself, being a victim with one of them myself. And I am in a weird situation now. I do not feel safe. I'm not really sure what to do. This is something totally new for me. So those of you watching this video, maybe you've got some suggestions for me. Like I said before in my other videos, I am on the autism spectrum, so sometimes I have a little bit of difficulty navigating through things like this. Plus, I'm from America, so we do things a little different there back in the States, especially in Texas. So maybe y'all have some good pointers and tips for me. Anyways, basically what happened was I was coming home from work 2 days ago, so it was about 4 p.m. in the afternoon. And here in Sweden, we have crosswalks that are designated for us to go across if we're walking, or maybe even to take our bicycle across. And there is a sign that clearly indicates that the people that are driving must stop. Now, I am really careful when I cross. I still look both ways. I don't just like walk out there and expect that people are just gonna slam on their brakes. I try to be courteous. I always wave to people when they stop for me, as long as both my hands are free. If I'm carrying groceries in both hands, I'll at least try to nod to the person, or like kind of lift my hand up just to say thank you. So I try to be very, very courteous here in Sweden. I know a lot of people don't do that. I guess it's just expected that the cars will stop for you. So I think that's important to note that I don't just run out in these crosswalks in front of cars. So the crosswalk that I was going across, I'll show you a similar one. I'm not going to show the actual one that I went across, but here's an example one in the neighborhood. So there were 4 lanes, 2 going one way, 2 going the other, with an island in the middle. And as I'm crossing across, the cars were stopping, and I was acknowledging them, thanking them. I get to the island. The 3rd lane that was going to cross, coming the other direction, the car stopped, and then I start walking. And in the 4th lane, as I was about to cross, a guy comes flying through there, and he's not looking forward, and he's not looking to that would be the left, which was the direction I was coming from. Instead, he's driving like this, and he's looking all the way like this to the right and driving really fast. Did not slow down for the sign, and he nearly hit me. As he drove by me, I kind of had to jump, and I like hit the window like 2 times, like not real hard, but just kind of like a, like, hey, hello, don't hit me kind of thing. I wasn't mad or anything. I kind of got freaked out because I thought he was going to hit me, and he didn't even see me. So it was just more like, if you're driving in the car, you toot on your horn if someone's about to hit you. I rarely hit my horn because coming from Texas, I've learned that if you do that, there's a lot of road rage in the States. And so people just jump out of the car and attack you. People try to shoot you. I've been a victim of gun violence once in the States where a guy chased me in his car with a gun. We found out later he was under the influence of methamphetamine, and he went to prison, and he was only 17 years old. That's a whole nother story. So it's not that have not been in these kinds of situations. This is the first time I've ever had this happen to me in Sweden. So, like I said, I just kind of knocked on the window, and I didn't think much about it. I was just like, oh, whatever, and then I continued on across that 4th lane and got to the corner, and my apartment was probably 20 footsteps away. And then I hear something behind me, and I'm thinking, oh, what is that? Well, there's a lot of car noise because everybody's getting off work. So I turn around, and I see that the car that nearly hit me had stopped immediately, and the guy standing outside behind the corner of the car. Like I said, I have autism, so I don't understand body language sometimes. I misinterpret it, and I tend to be a bit naive, and I tend to not think the worst of people. So when he's standing at the corner of the car, and he had his arms kind of up, and it looked like to me, because I couldn't hear what he's saying, it looked like he's like, oh, I'm so sorry. Like he's trying to apologize to me. So I just kind of smiled, I'm thinking, oh, he's, it was no big deal. I'm just going to say, yeah, it's fine. That's just my personality, right? I don't think the worst of people. And so then he starts walking towards me, and I thought he was just going to like, oh, are you okay? Or something like that. That's how my brain works. And then he wasn't that far, because literally he stopped on the corner, and I'm on the corner. He gets out, and he shoved me like that, and I was like, whoa. And then before I could turn around and do anything, I was just kind of like shocked. He grabbed me by the back of my coat, and then he took his other hand and he grabbed my jaw, and he just starts like twisting my jaw like this, and I'm just like froze, like I'm in complete shock. Like, this has never happened in my life, ever, even in the United States. Last time closest anything remote happened to this, I was probably 12 years old on the playground in school, because I got bullied a lot as a kid. And so complete shock, did not know how to react. So I just kind of froze, and he just kept saying, he had a real heavy accent. He wasn't Swedish. He just kept saying, why did I knock on the window? Why did I knock on the window? And so, I'm just trying to think as fast as I can. People are like, just sitting at tables, just watching it like it's just like some TV show or something like that. Nobody's getting involved, which up to this point, I'd already seen, like I mentioned earlier, I've seen 2 altercations in the last 2 weeks. One the day before that, and then one the week before, and it was with this same, it was a same foreign group. And my impression of the people that live here in this area, not all of them, but quite a few of them, they have very bad tempers. I have a bit of PTSD as well. When I lived in the States, I had something really bad happen to me with a person from that same area. I remember it was after September 11th, and I was at work, and it's kind of traumatic to even think about right now, but they start going off on me in their language. They were doing some really bad things. I worked in a pharmacy, and they just started shouting out stuff in their native language. And what it led to was security had to be called, and they were escorted out of the pharmacy, and they were fired. And then I found out later on that same person went to another pharmacy, and the same thing happened there. So, but they're not all like that, because some of my closest friends come from that same part of the world. But I'd had a conversation with one of them that is a good friend of mine. He said that was the whole reason he came to Sweden, is because where he comes from, that culture there, they tend to be very high-strung in the culture and have like a temper. So my friend comes from that same part of the world. And he said when he worked as a doctor in the emergency room, sometimes people would get shot like out in the street. They'd be like partying and shooting guns in the air and stuff like that. And like one time a stray bullet came down and hit someone and they were already dead by the time the friends brought this person into the emergency room. And the friends of this person were like, hey, you need to help him. And of course, my friend, who's a doctor, couldn't bring him back because he's already dead. So they beat him pretty bad. And his wife is a physician as well. And so this was a repetitive thing, and they just had to just like keep their head down and just deal with it. And so, you know, they're very sweet, peaceful people, and they just made the decision that that part of the world was not a good fit for them anymore, and they wanted to come somewhere peaceful. So they came here to Sweden, and they're doing really well. They're thriving, really good friends of mine. So it's interesting because I've heard the same thing from him. But like, I don't want to think the worst of people, right? I can't stand racism. I can't. But I think what that leads to a complication for me being on the autism spectrum, because it's just like I'm also kind of naive. So it's really hard for me to know what to do in these situations. So as this is happening to me, I'm thinking about what my friends said, about what has happened to him. I'm thinking about all the things people have said to me in the last 2.5 years, living here in Sweden, and I'm just like trying to think on my feet really quick. So I stayed calm. I just kind of just froze, and then he kind of like loosened off of me, because I think what he was trying to do, he was a really big dude, and he's like looking down into my eyes, and he's like got my jaw in the back of my head, and I'm thinking, oh, this is it here. He lets me loose, and then he just shoves me again like that, and he's like, he keeps saying the same thing, like he wants to fight, and so in my brain I thought maybe if I just play dumb or speak English, I don't know if he'll understand English, but maybe he'll think, oh, he's just a foreigner, he doesn't know what he's doing, and I'll just leave him alone. So I was like, in a scared tone of voice, I said, you scared me. You were driving really fast. You didn't see me. I was just knocking on your window to let you know I'm there, and that you almost hit me. Like, I'm the type of person, I would have been like, it's cool, you know, don't worry about it. You know, you made a mistake. We all make mistakes. That's just my personality. Like, if I were in his shoes and I almost hit someone, I would be like so embarrassed, you know, trying to apologize and everything like that. So that was just weird. So anyways, like I said, he was trying to get me to fight, and so finally he just starts like kind of backing up, and he walks to his car, and I pulled out my cell phone, and I'm just sitting here trying to think really fast, like, what do I do? I don't know what to do in this situation. Do I take a picture? Do I call the police? I don't know. So I pull out my cell phone, and he sees me getting a cell phone, so he starts coming at me, like, I guess he assumed I'm going to take a picture of him. So I just took a picture really quick. You know, there's the fast setting on the iPhone for that. So I took a picture, and he starts running after me. So I've had my backpack with my my laptop, so it was like really heavy, and I had my clunky shoes because it's wintertime. I'm just running down the street trying to get away from him. And then I started hollering out really loud in English. I was like, somebody call the police. Of course, nobody's doing anything. They're all just sitting there just watching. It seems to be like a normal thing in this part of town, because like I said, the last 2 weeks, I've already seen this happen quite a bit. So I turn around, I'm like, I'm gonna get a video, because it seemed like, you know, he stopped. I couldn't hear his footsteps anymore, but by then he'd already taken off. So I go back to where it had happened, because like I said, it's 20 footsteps from my apartment, and there's like a little store there on the corner, and a window from the store looking out onto right, like it literally happened right outside that window. So I go in the store, I'm like just breathing really heavy, just trying to catch my breath. The adrenaline's running, and everybody's like staring at me in the store, and they saw the whole thing. They're like, are you okay? We saw the whole thing. You didn't do anything wrong. Like, I didn't say anything to them. I'm like, I just need to get my breath. And they're like, we saw the whole thing. You did nothing wrong. He was looking to the right. He wasn't paying attention. And I said, I am so scared. What do I do? Do I call the police? I'm like, I live just like right here. What if he comes after me? I was hollering to call the police. You know, I took a picture and everything. And they're like, oh, the police, they're not going to do anything. You know, we know him. I'm like, oh no. But we know him. And next time we see him, we're going to tell him that he did something wrong. I'm like, great. So they know him. They're telling me not to call the police. He's already seen that I took a picture and that I was hollering out, somebody call the police. So like, I don't feel safe now, right? So I come into my apartment. I'm just shaking. I called my colleague at work, and I'm like, what do I do? I mean, I'm totally new to this kind of thing here. And she's like, well, I don't know, if you call the police, because it was the same thoughts I was thinking. I was like, if I call the police, it could make the situation worse, and then he could try to find me and come after me. On the other hand, if I don't report it and he does it again, I don't have anything, and he probably is going to assume that I call the police anyways. So she's like, maybe she can just talk around to some other friends and see what they say. So I called up a friend in Helsingborg. I talked to him, and he's like, call the police. He's not going to do anything to you. Just call the police. I talked to another friend, and they're like, I wouldn't have called the police. So write your comments down below what you think I should have done, because I'm totally open to that. I'd love to hear what y'all think about what I should have done. So anyway, then I talked to another friend, the one I mentioned earlier, who was a physician and came from that part of the world, and he's used to dealing with that culture. And he said, that's just how people are from that part of the world. Of course, not all of them. A lot of them are amazing people, and like I said, I've got good friends from that part of the world. But there is a cultural thing where they just sometimes men will try to intimidate other people and bully them around. And he said, I think he's just trying to scare you, and he's going to be scared now, especially if you call the police. He's just going to be scared, and he's going to stay away from you. So that's what my friend who's from that part of the world says. So I don't know. I'm scared. I've got a bit of trauma, because then the next day I'm going to work, and then a guy approaches me with a tract, a little info thing about some new bicycle paths. I couldn't tell he was from the city. It's kind of dark, in the morning on the way to work. It's just, he approached me, and I just freaked out, because I was not expecting it. I was like, no, So, and it's now I come home, I'm trying to come home different ways, which is hard because it adds 15 minutes walking time to try to go around a different way. Every time I see a car that's like his, I'm just nervous. I don't trust going in front of that store now, because they say they know him, so they could be in cahoots with him. But I did look up the license plate, and I saw it comes from a town just outside of where I'm living. So hopefully he's not going to be coming around here very often. I don't want to live in this apartment anymore. I need to, but I'm kind of stuck here at least until the summer. So, because of my agreement that I made with the person. So I called the police. I told them I'm scared. I don't want to, have them coming after me. I want if you can cover my information up, or however you do it. I don't know how it works. I don't work in the police field here. I'd like to, try to stay safe. And they're like, yeah, we recommend that you report it, and we'll try to, hide as much information as we can. And we also have a group of people that reach out to victims of this kind of stuff. So if you want help from them, we can have them call you. I haven't heard from them yet. So anyway, that's my situation now. I'm more calm now, but I don't feel safe, leaving the door now to go out on the street. Other parts of town probably, but not here anymore. I don't live in that bad area. I actually live several bus stops away from it. But I'm just noticing a trend, just like I said, in these last couple weeks, I'm seeing, I don't know if it's because the darkness is starting to affect them, people are getting angry because it's been so dark all winter. I don't know if they're having personal struggles. I'm sitting here trying to make sense in my brain why, because I haven't had this problem for 2.5 years. I've seen these things happen before with other people. When I lived in Helsingborg, I saw it out on the streets and the police getting called and fights happening amongst them. But I never saw it towards Swedish people or, others from other parts of the world. And it really stinks when this happens, because it's we're having this immigration crisis here in Sweden, and there are a lot of Swedes that are against, I shouldn't say a lot of Swedes, there are some Swedes that are against immigration, or want to cut back on it, or they make certain comments about a certain group that's very negative, and sometimes it kind of sounds a bit racist. And then when you get these people that do things like this, it's well, no wonder people say things about this group. And it's not the whole group is like that. It's just like me. I come from America. I come from a gun-toting society. We have big personalities. You got Donald Trump, who has a big personality, and it's because I come from America, people label me as, I probably have a gun, I'm a Trump lover, super religious, uh, a loudmouth, opinionated. But I'm not like that, and a lot of Americans are not like that. But there is a stereotype that comes with my own culture. So, yeah, it's just an unfortunate situation, and I'm not really sure what to do. So, for the first time ever in Sweden, I'm not feeling so safe right now. I will say this does not make me regret coming here because this is the first time in 2.5 years, and I've been through stuff like this, actually way worse than this, in Texas. But I've never been like actually had someone put their hands on me physically, like since I was like in elementary school. So that was really weird. Anyway, so that's what's going on. Feel free to put your comments down below. What do you think I should have done? I am totally open to your suggestions. This is definitely a learning opportunity for me. Y'all have an awesome rest of your day. Thanks for your support. Have a good day.